Hey everybody, this is part 2 of the Orbweaver analog joystick mod. So this time what we're going to do is actually not mess with the Orbweaver at all, and we're going to focus on this D-pad assembly because we're replacing this D-pad with an analog joystick. And the way that this PCB sits in the thumb and the side module, it's a perfect platform for mounting the base of the stick, of the new stick to. So this video is going to be around disassembling this and prepping it for the analog stick. And so we're just going to get going. Whoops, knocked it from my Tic Tac container. Really, you need just some needle nose pliers, and then you need something to desolder it with. I actually have a vacuum desoldering system. I've done this with soldering wick with the braid and flux. But if you have a vacuum kit, it's just way easier. So there are. Get it to reflect in the light. There we go. So there's 4 plastic tabs on the bottom, right there, and right there, and right there, and right there, that hold this plastic hat and case. So we just need to remove those. So you just kind of squeeze those in and it comes right off. And this can just be, I save these because I like to cut them up and use these hats for other things. But you don't need this anymore. And so now you can see the D-pad, which, in case you were wondering, it's just 4 of the same micro switches that they use elsewhere on the device. Like here, this is for the thumb, that thumb lever, that thumb button, and this one right here, which is for the upper, sorry, not in frame, the upper button, the thumb button. And they're clicky, they're nice, clicky, tactile micro switches. I like to save them as well. And then this is the D-pad. It's just 4. This hat sits on top and rocks and activates them. So the next step is just desoldering and removing these switches. It's pretty straightforward. There are 8 points total, and if you do not have a vacuum desoldering system, I'm sorry, you have to use wick and braid, and it's doable. It's just it'll take you longer. Because you need to have a high heat, a high wattage soldering iron if you're going to use wick and braid to get this off. So I love this thing. This thing is great. Just kind of get it on and warm it up, get it hot. I rotate it. And then once I'm sure the solder's flowing, I suck it out. That's not going to be in focus, I don't think. I had to manually focus this camera. Sometimes it takes a couple passes to get it all out, or sometimes I'll have to put more solder down in there to get it out. But generally speaking, this is pretty straightforward. Caught my finger there. All right, let's get the next. Actually, that didn't go all the way. I should be putting the gun back, but I'm not. I'm being dangerous. Don't do what I do. Don't try to do things with one hand. Put the gun away. Even with this thing, the solder is really tricky. Sometimes I have to add solder to these posts before it will all come out. Whatever solder they use at the factory, I don't know what it is. It's probably lead-free stuff that just needs high heat. I suppose I could turn the heat up on this gun, but you just go around and get them all out, and you push the switches out. Yeah, I'm looking. My first switch looks good. The posts look decently clean, but the second one, they're pretty clogged still. So that I'm gonna have to add solder there. Let me just get this last one. I'm gonna add solder to a bunch of these actually, because they're not all the stuff is coming out. Hold on. It was an alarm. I had to turn off really quick. All right. Yeah, I think probably the issue is that they use lead-free solder at the factory, and it's much more of a pain to work with to get it to come loose. If you want to do, I'm going to go ahead and say that if you want to do switches on the main, like if you want to replace the cherry switches that are on the board, you're going to need to get one of these guns, because replacing all of those with wick and braid is so lame. So there, I was just adding some leaded 6337 solder to those posts. That comes out much easier when there's more solder there, and it just kind of heats all the stuff evenly. Totally technical terminology there. Stuff and things. Yeah, that's the sound I like to hear. You want to hear good airflow, that looks a lot better. That looks a lot better. Let me do the other posts. That was real sloppy. Really sloppy. Yeah, see, now these things are just falling out. Kind of. I'm going to have to use pliers on a few of them. I am not used to working on a camera, guys. I'm sorry. All right, I think those are all pretty clean. I'm gonna put the gun away and try to get these switches out with some pliers. If they don't, you can use a little bit of force because these posts fit pretty tightly inside these holes. So it's okay to use a little bit of force, but if you find yourself like having to exert a lot of strength and you want to back up and try again. I have ripped these off before, and honestly, it's okay because you just discard them. But you do want to be somewhat careful so you don't end up with a giant mess. You see that one? That one just came out. And I just ripped that one. Don't do what Rabbit does, guys. Yeah, I'm going to have to work on that one a little bit more. I squeezed it too hard. And that one too. These are brittle. I wonder if I heated them up too much and the plastic got brittle. It's okay, because these get discarded. So I got 2 out. Nope, only got 1 out. The rest of them disassembled. Well, that was very crappily done, people. Can't even see what I'm doing. I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at the unit, not at the camera. I'm going to have to work on these posts a little bit more. They're still stuck. But you get the idea. Yeah, so 1 came out clean, and then the other 3 I thought were free, but were not. And I think I overheated them and the plastic got brittle. Pretty sure that's what happened. It's okay, though, because we mostly discard these switches. We don't need them. It's okay if they break. Even though I'm not proud of that work, it's okay if they break. Anyway, so I'm going to go and stop the video because you don't want to watch me try to get the rest of these out. But the point of this is to get this PCB clean. You want to get the switches off and clean it up so that it's a flat surface. Because the new stick will sit on top, and I typically will glue it or double-side foam tape it in place. It needs to be flat so it sits there, because this PCB has screw mounts, and it just mounts inside the side module, and it's a nice surface to put the new stick on. Anyways, that's it. I think that gives you a good idea of step 2. Thanks, guys.